Tim, you've asked Victor, as a non-exec director of NHS England, to kick off this piece of work to design and develop a citizens' assembly.
Yeah.
Why? Why is that so important? What does it really mean to you?
So I think that the core values of NHS England, which have been expressed many times by the board, by directors individually, are centred on patient participation, patient and public participation. And one of the really big challenges for NHS England, which is spending £96 billion of public money on commissioning services for patients, advocating for them, is how it can be held accountable for its decisions. So how can NHS England as an enterprise, in a way, as an organisation, offer people, public at large, patients, means by which it can be held to account, first to say, for its decisions, but also new ways in which people can properly, authentically contribute to its decision making. And I was really taken, after we'd started the conversations with Victor, I was really taken by a line in the Don Berwick review on patient safety, which the Prime Minister commissioned recently, in which Don said that in his view, the most important single characteristic of a modern health service was that it committed fully and wholeheartedly to authentic patient and public participation. And that's what NHS needs to do. It needs to lead the way on that. So my belief and the view of the rest of the board is that the Citizens' Assembly is a really important kind of initiative to think differently about how we can capture people in the decision-making process, give them the chance to contribute in any way they want to, whether as an individual, whether as an organisation, as a community-based organisation, to try and think differently about giving people voice in the way in which this commissioning industry goes about doing its business.
Okay, so you sound really committed to it. Have you already designed it? Do you know what it looks like?
No, I've actually worked in my career with a whole range of different organisations that have approached this problem, different international bodies that have tried to find new ways of putting governments together with civil society organisations, all sorts of ways in which civil society at large, not just in healthcare, have tried to be given voice in really difficult, complex areas of sort of human social development. So one of the lessons that I've taken away from those things is that it is about development. So I don't have a particular view of how this Citizens' Assembly should be configured or how it goes about doing its business. I think it needs to, that in a way needs to be developed in an open, out of the box kind of approach. So I don't bring to this specific structures in my head. I think it needs to end up being able to engage with NHS England, sort of formally in some way, with the board of NHS England, speak to it. I don't know whether that means that there is an elected group or how that comes about, but I think most importantly it needs to find ways, obviously exploiting all the opportunities that social media and digital technologies offer us to capture voices that are in our community, perhaps voices that don't normally talk about healthcare, but actually, if given the chance, as everybody will have, would have a view about how things could be better for them, or particular insights which could be really helpful to NHS England. So I don't have a pre-cooked view of what this should look like, and I think the 2 days that we've got coming up now in terms of designing, moving on from the original workshops we had, which I think really helped our thinking in terms of this being a valid kind of project, that there was a need for NHS England to be honest and authentic about the way it was going to encourage participation. I now think that what we need to do is ask people who are expert and just interested in helping support us, as it were, or support the system do that better, to ask them to help solve the problem. How do we do it? I don't have any pre-cooked views of that.
So if we on Tuesday start to come up, you come in and join us at the end of Tuesday, and we've come up with something completely different and completely radical, are you going to go with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, providing it meets, well, absolutely. And I think for me the goals, and we need to be just really clear about the goals were set in the last bunch of workshops, which are, how do we hold, so one thing is about accountability, just public accountability for an organisation that is responsible for spending so much public money and yet isn't elected. How do we make it legitimate in the way it takes its decisions? That's one objective. The second objective is, how do we really genuinely, authentically give people voice in relation to the future design of the health service? And I think the third thing is, how do we help people in a way, how do we collectively engage with people so that on the journey of their own health and care, we can use this to help signpost different services, different ways in which they might want to get involved in their local health services. I think that for me it's a kind of, the third bit might be a call to action for local people to get engaged in ways they haven't previously thought of. So I think those are the objectives that were set by the last workshop. So those would be providing, we come up with answers or come up with approaches to those objectives. I think that's great. That's all that matters.
Okay, we'll see where we get to on Tuesday. Thank you.
Yeah.